world champions with us here in Wayne Rainey and Kevin Schwantz. So let's pretend that both of you are still competitors. You're still strapping on the helmets and boots and leathers, etc. Wayne, you first up. How would you deal if you were a modern-day MotoGP athlete dealing with this pandemic and this, stay home, stay safe lockdown? What would you do with yourself?
Well, you'd have to have a lot of patience. I think, this is obviously something we've never experienced before. This is new to everybody. I think you have to try to stay healthy, stay fit, stay focused. And, Dorna's doing everything they can do to try to figure out when the season will start and just be ready then. I think, if they only have 10 or 12 races, it's all going to happen pretty quick. So you got to be prepared.
Kevin, what about for you? Would you be training more than you'd ever trained?
I guess it depends on how serious the lockdown was and what you were allowed to do. Because, if it's in-house lockdown, you can only leave to go get necessities. You can't go road bike riding, you can't go dirt track, and you can't go motocrossing. So, I think I'd probably just drive myself crazy riding my trainer, trying to, chase the guy on the program in front of me. But, MotoAmerica and MotoGP have just, I think like Wayne said, everybody's doing everything they can to get this show up and running to try and do it safely. Probably the guy that I think might be most affected by this, first of all, the MotoAmerica guys who've already tested for the first time, done a couple different tests at Barber, kind of ready, set to start the season. Now everything's gone crazy. But Joe Roberts and the momentum that he had after Qatar, sitting at home every day, I bet he is just on pins and needles thinking, God, that whatever it was I had just found, is it going to leave me while we're sitting here stuck in the house? So yeah, hopefully that's not the case.
Yeah, can I still get that result? By far that was Joe's best result. So, he's had something to look forward to when they start again. He knows he can get the result. He's got the speed. This is all really new to him. So I would imagine he's pretty excited to get back out there and see if he can do it at the next race.
For us at NBC Sports, Ben Bostrom and myself were hosting that opening round of MotoGP, which of course for the MotoGP bikes didn't happen, but Moto2. And then, it's not like there has not been Americans at world level. There's been visitations recently, in recent years. But for Joe to be, in all due respect, nowhere and then just pop up on the pole position and give a lot of credit to his team and to having John Hopkins on board. Kevin, how much of a difference, you both know Hopper well, and you both know what the world circuit's like and the rigors of it and being over there alone. How much of a help was John Hopkins to turn this young man's fortunes around?
You got to think that having Hopper in your corner is an advantage. Funny enough, a couple of years ago, I took Joe and we went to Suzuka together. I told him to do a lot of different things and told him kind of what it was all about and how to best approach it. And in the race, he did exactly everything that I had told him not to do on the paint, in the wet. The next thing you know, we're on the ground. So maybe Joe's decided it's time to start listening to the experienced hand. When somebody's there to give you advice and help you with stuff, take it to heart, soak it up, absorb it, and go out and, the reason they're there to help is maybe they got a little more knowledge than you do of the program and work with them. So it was good to see, so you could see how excited he was after he put it on pole. And then I thought, interesting to see how the race goes. And the race was back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And then, the Japanese Nakagami, was it, that snuck through and kind of got away from everybody. But yeah, it was a great ride, great performance, and, obviously a huge team effort.
Wayne, what does that do for his confidence?
Well, I think, it's got to help. Joe's he's been doing this a long time. I think he's 22, 23. He came through MotoAmerica, went to Spain and raced. Now he's in Moto2. He's got the result at that first race. As you said, you got John Hopkins in that corner, but he's also got, he's got a new crew chief. He's got a new chassis. And that's a lot there too, because you got to have such a relationship with your crew chief, and you got to believe everything he's telling you so you can get the good feel out of the bike. So I think he's got a pretty good program. I remember I had Kenny Roberts in my corner, and I could send Kenny out to a corner and say, hey, once you see what Kevin or Mick's doing, let me see if you can tell what gear they're in or if they're shifting a little bit early. And that really can help a rider with his confidence. So I think it's a good thing that Joe's got this whole program together as he does.
I found it interesting, and so too did Ben Bostrom, that he was very forthcoming in saying, you know, Hopper is out on sections of the track like you just described Kenny would do for you. And he said, John can see things that I can't. Kevin, I don't, you know, as long as we've been friends, I don't know who did you have in your corner, if anybody, to help you in that regard?
You know, not normally, nobody really. You know, my parents would go out and do radar speeds, and that was just typically at the end of the longest straightaway at the track just to see where we were as far as top speed went. But actually having somebody there to work, I had some physios and stuff that I worked with, but really somebody out there coaching, helping on track, watching, and there never really was anybody in my corner. Jeff Haney a little bit in the very beginning, but once I got into Grand Prix racing, he decided to stay back in America, and I went on.
Wayne, for you, as your role as president of MotoAmerica, how have things been? Are the competitors and teams, of course, I imagine, chomping at the bit? They want to get going. They want to know when you're going to hit the track again. Just tell the viewers what's it been like for you, and what's the latest with MotoAmerica?
Things have been, you know, it's been a daily grind. We've been, you know, talking to the teams, talking to all the circuits. We got our first race is going to be Road America. We think it's going to be at the end of this month on the 29th. We'll find out probably tomorrow or the next day if it's going to be with spectators or without. And then after that, I got a meeting later today about Laguna Seca. And Laguna Seca is it's going to be a good event for us. We're going to have a hill climb there for the first time in the dirt. We're going to have a baggers Harley-Davidson race. We're going to have a motorcycle show there. So it's going to have like a motorcycle festival feel. All right, I get that there's going to be, you know, we got to try to get spectators there with this pandemic, but that's in 2 months from now. So we think things are going to settle down quite a bit in that time. But all our guys, everybody in MotoAmerica, they're ready to go racing for sure.
And we're breaking the news right here, aren't we, that Kevin Schwantz will be in that hill climb.
He's going to be in the hill climb and the baggers. So, and I'll go out there, Kevin, and I'll work with you in the corners, all right?
What oh man, that'd make all the difference in the world.
Hey Kevin, let's switch gears and talk MotoGP for a second.
Cliff Nobles called me as soon as he heard about the baggers class. He said, "I'll build you a bike, man. Come on." I was like, I do not race motorcycles anymore.
I'll tell you, Kevin, I mean, some of the names that we're hearing going to ride these bikes, I've heard the Boston brothers' names, Roland Sands. There's like 14 bike builders that are building bikes just for this race.
Wow.
So it's going to be fun. I think you'd have a great time.
I'll come out and watch.
Okay.
So Kevin, let's switch gears and talk MotoGP for a second. A couple of weeks ago, I interviewed Marc Marquez, and we were reliving the Thailand 2019 race where he clinched his 8th world title and 6th Premier title. How do you think he is at the moment? What do you think that, you know, the shoulder surgeries, the Honda didn't look that good in preseason testing. Has this break been a blessing in disguise for Marquez?
You know, I think it has. Anytime you go in and you're not 100% physically ready, any extra time, whether it's a break in between races or whether it's something like this pandemic has caused, you know, it's some extra time to try and get fit. Yeah, maybe he's not able to go ride, and maybe he's not able to go test, but you know, just stuff in the gym, stuff at home, stuff on the bicycle is getting him more and more fit, which, you know, Marquez is one of those that sometimes can start off a little bit slow at the start of the season, but once he gets his confidence underneath him, he's got momentum that's hard to stop.
Wayne, how's it going to be for him having his younger brother, also, you know, also a world champion in the junior and in the lead-up categories, you know, Moto3, Moto2 champion? How's it going to be having his brother as a teammate?
I don't know, Lee. It could be a blessing or a curse. You know, it's I don't think he'll be challenging him so much, but you know, if his brother, if he has a problem or if he steps off, if that affects Mark in some way. But you know, having both, you know, having somebody there as a teammate that you can really trust and know so much or so well, I think he'll help his brother get up to speed. You know, Mark's, I don't know how many times he's world champion, 4 or 5 times. So, you know, he already knows what it takes to be world champion. So finding the motivation to try to get that next one, and now with his bike not being quite as good, that could be another challenge. So it ought to be an interesting start of the season to see just how all that lines out.
Kevin, one rider who intrigues me a lot, where you see everything that's swirling around, and you guys have got Yamaha and Suzuki running through your veins, but whether it's Maverick Vinales, Fabio Quartararo, Jack Miller, you got all these exciting young guys that are there. But what about Ducati's Andrea Dovizioso? How many times can he sit there and not win this Premier Class championship before his patience runs out or before he gets too old? I mean, is his time going to be in 2020? We don't know what the championship looks like, but could this year be his year?
Absolutely it could be. I think, they showed they were good in testing, not great. I think the Yamahas have shown that they're probably the most consistently fast. The Suzuki's right there, the Ducati's close, and Marquez not 100% fit. I think it's going to make for a really exciting season. As far as Dovey goes, he's been around forever. He's got the experience. He can challenge Marquez certain places, but I think it's the Ducati that might be missing the consistency. I don't think we can really point the finger at Dovey on that one. He manages at some of the bigger, longer, faster places to keep it near the front. But I think it's still not handling quite as good as it should, especially once you get past half distance in a race.
So, Wayne, with your World Championship cap on and your administrator's cap on, and we're not talking about MotoAmerica, we're talking about MotoGP, how many rounds would make up a fair World Championship, a legit World Championship, in your opinion?
Well, I think back in '92, Kevin and we raced, and I believe there was 13 that year. So I know that's what it was back then. But right now, I think they're talking 10 or 12, and I think at least 12 is doable. There's a lot that can happen there. You look at just the first three races. Like when we raced, our first three races pretty much started the season and pretty much sorted who was going to be the guys racing for the championship. And I see that no different now, especially with the 12-race series.
Kev, for you?
I think Carmelo said they could do 10 pretty easy in Europe, but I think the FIM has a rule in it that their federation says it's a 13. I'm sure there can be exceptions made to that rule, but whatever they can get done, I feel like if they can run a strictly European championship, yeah, we'll still call it a world championship, but maybe they won't get to travel internationally. But even that, talking to some of the people that, that work for some of the teams and stuff, it's going to be so tough to get teams and people and flights and crew and all that to and from all these different venues. It's going to be tough, but if anybody can pull it off, Dorna can, and likewise, I think Wayne being the mastermind at MotoAmerica, he's got his work cut out, but if anybody can do it, he can.
Wayne, last year, anybody who's a motorcycle fan or a motorcycle racing fan around the world was just thrilled to see you for the first time in 26 years on a motorcycle again. Tell us about that.
Wow, that was certainly a thrill. The first time I rode that bike was, well, I kept saying no to it for like 9 months. I just had no interest in riding. But then just one day I woke up in October and I thought, why not? So this event was at Suzuka, Japan in November. So we brought everything out to California, and I was able to ride the bike at Buttonwillow. And Josh Hayes, actually a MotoAmerica champion, he followed me around the track the first time I got on the bike. And when I first took off, it was like I had training wheels on, and they just took them off. And I almost kind of like tipped over, and I had to give it throttle to keep from tipping over. And as I was entering onto the track, I thought, what am I doing out here? Why did I decide to do this? But as I rode around I did like 3 laps, and I got it up to like 5th gear and did like 92 miles an hour. It felt like 150, but so I thought about it for about an hour and a half and went back out for a second time. And the second time I rode it, I was able to carry a lot more speed. I was actually able to kind of lean the bike in a way that I could feel the newness of the tires kind of move a little bit. And I really had a blast. It was a lot of pressure on my arms holding myself up. But when I went to Japan and was able to ride at Suzuka and going around that racetrack that Kevin and I had big battles at was a real thrill. And then having Eddie Lawson and Kenny Roberts there as well riding with me, it was something I could never think I never thought I was ever going to be able to do. So I was really glad I did it, but we'll see what happens in the future. I might have one more in me.
That's fantastic. We would love to see it. And Kevin, as Wayne alluded to, you know, once upon a time, you two guys were just trying to beat each other as badly as you could. How did you feel to see your old rival and your countryman, you know, get back on a bike?
I can't believe he's waited 26 years to do it. You know, it was great to see, you know, reading all the stories about it, and you know, then getting to go to Suzuka. You know, must have just been awesome, because that racetrack's got some great memories for all of us, and you know, to see Wayne back on a bike was pretty special.
Well, I think that's a really nice way to end it, guys. And I know for all of our viewers on NBC Sports, there's so much excitement about NBC Sports having MotoGP and MotoAmerica, and just the shoulder programming that we're doing, and to have you two just give us some of your time during these pretty dark times, I know will give people a lot of joy. So thanks so much.